Hey love bug, it's me, Emma Upton, clarity wizard, resistance whisperer and professional fog lifter. And in plain English, I help high achieving women stop circling, name the exact work that you came here to do and build the real thing using the math and the magic of your work without needing to burn your life right now down. We're not chasing productivity. We're not overthinking, and we're definitely not into positive thinking. We're remembering what it feels like to have fun and making magic into a really real, tangible map. So if you're waking up, if you're finally ready to create that next level of podcast, that book, that business, that beautiful, wild thing that doesn't fit the mold that you've already made, but it will not leave you alone, you're in the right place. Welcome to Let's Build the Real Thing, the math and the magic of your work. Let's figure out what's really been in the way. Let's build the real thing. Welcome home. Welcome to your real thing.
Do you ever find yourself sitting in the classes, the programs, the courses with your mentor, and they're asking questions and they're telling you, you should know this, like, you know the answer. And you're like, I know the answer. I know I'm responsible for my life. I know I'm creating all of my problems. Like, I know this. I'm very into self-development. I'm very aware. But show me how. How do I know this? I remember sitting with a monk. He'd been in silent isolation for 12 years. And I went to him at the beginning of all of this when I had just exhausted traditional Western therapies. And I was like, none of this is helping. I feel marginally better. I'm pretty sure you're not meant to feel this way when you're on a spinning sphere moving through space at 1,000 miles an hour that feels like stillness. I'm pretty sure this isn't it. I'm pretty sure there's more. And one of the first things he said to me was, the only thing you're not allowed to say is, I don't know. I'm going to ask you questions, and the only answer you can give me is, I don't know. And I think the first question he asked me was, what are you here for? I was like, I don't know, because I don't know. But I remember sitting with him in that space, and he had these metronomes like ticking all over it. When I think about it, I'm going back into the space and the depth that he took me into. But I just went into this meditative space, and I didn't find or give any answers. Nothing truly came up and out. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, but you're telling me I know the answer, and I've done enough self-development work. Words. I've done enough self-development work to know that that's right and that's true, and I'm the creator of all of this. Cool. But how? Show me how to actually do something different. Show me how to reach the operations that you're telling me about. If I've got all the answers, how do I gain access to them? So if you know that you're here with a body of work that's bigger than you, and you're active in it, you know you're the one responsible. When everybody else is bitching and whining and whinging and hoping their mom was different or their dad was different or this or that, and of course, yes, I still have those wishes myself, but you know there's nothing you can do about it. So you are just taking ownership of your life and doing everything within your power to make it different. But you know that you don't have the depth of the answers that you're looking for. You're saying to yourself, I know, but how? And the frustration is that you are showing up. You are doing everything right. You are being the perfect student that you have been your whole life, the grade A student that shows up and does the things. And you're like, but how do I gain the answers that are actually going to give me the insights that are actually going to make the tangible, the 3D, the thing that we live in? I'm all about being spiritual and at one with the self, but if you don't have everything externally, it makes life even more challenging, and it's challenging enough. If you're saying, how do I do it? Then my work is for you, and this episode today is going to be really helpful. I hope so. Sit tight, get a brew, and we're going to explore it. What we believe, I know I have to catch my mind often, is the answers lie in figuring out more of the puzzle, finding out more, finding the answer that you know exists somewhere that you just need to gain access to. And the access point is knowing more, learning more, finding more. But what if that isn't true? What if the world as it operates, and when you look out and actually speak to people, not just say, hi, how are you? Fine, thanks. How are you? Good. And off you move. When you actually be with people, It's not great for a lot of people. And everybody is operating out of this. How do I figure out more? How do I add more? How do I get more? But what if the answer is, how do I refine it? How do I make it simpler? How do I get rid of all the noise that is just getting in the way? And how do I bring it to the absolute essence and the core of it all? Now, the answer to this is tied up with my jiu-jitsu master, who talks about how the moves from white belt to black belt, all the way through them all, are the same. And we don't want them to be the same. Like, we find ourselves getting bored. Ugh, doing the same moves again. My husband especially is like, the same moves again. Yeah, it's mastery. And only those who master the self are able to master the work that they're here to do, which means they can master the 3D and the tangibles. It has to go in that order. But how do I get the answers? How do I move with the same moves from white belt, but suddenly at black belt, I can just put the tiniest piece of pressure on your wrist and it will feel like it's going to snap. Our sensei, whenever he goes to do any move on us, he says, I won't really do it. Like, he's reaffirming and reassuring us all of the time because he is nails and he's terrifying and he's accidentally put it on just a smidge too hard and it's crippling. Like, he is the master of the same moves that I already know, that he's already taught me. Why can he break my arm with no pressure? And I'm literally getting, is this it? Is this it? Is this to him? Because he has allowed himself to go to the depth. Now, how do you get to the depth? Me with my monk saying, okay, you're telling me I have all the answers. I know I'm responsible because I am a wise human. I'm done outsourcing everything to the world. How about I could have some actual tangible answers that I can do something with? Those tangible answers come from the annoying coaches that are all over Instagram saying, just do it, just do it. And if you feel like somebody that's just like, I can't just do it on this one specific thing, let me know, because I've got a just do it decoder. It's like a flow chart that will bring you to the answers and you can see the operating systems that are stopping you. So just an aside, if that's something you're navigating, I want to show you how you get to do it differently. But the how is, and why the how is so important, why the action is so important, is because we start a chain effect. As soon as there's action in the 3D, because in the main, that's where you want the results. And yes, to feel like a brew and a biscuit at home with a clean house, but you want results. When you start taking action, you begin a circle. And we know how important closing the loops are in a circle. So often we start the circle and then it gets harder than we want it to be. And then we realize how much energy and effort and how much skill it would take to actually follow through and get to the end of this. And then we think, this can't be it. And then we drop out of the circle and it creates, I'm doing actions in my hand. You can't see my hand. It creates a straight line through the circle. And suddenly it's like, oh, well, that's already closed off now. And so then we start a new circle and we start circling, we start taking the action, we start moving around, and then we're like, whoa, and we close off that circle. And very quickly we have all these half-finished circles. What we're actually being called to do is take the action towards a thing. And if you're not sure, I want to be like the monk, you know what your thing is. You're already active in your thing. Your life wouldn't let you get so off piece that it's not happening around you right now, but it's the clarity that you're being called into. In order to gain the clarity, take the thing that you know that you're avoiding, that you know, because there's always the biggest transformation and it gives you the biggest evidence for your brain. And as soon as you start gaining evidence for your brain that this way of operating works, you'll be more inclined to just do it, which is ultimately the space we want to get to. But it takes a second of seeing the emotional holders and the systems that are working behind it for that to happen. When you start taking that action, you start that circle within your work. You start the circle of what's happening and what we think we need to do and what we have to focus on. And I have to focus on this. I focus as if I'm going to close the circle. When I want to step out, I stay in. When I want to drop off, I stay in. When I get distracted by something shinier and more fun and a better idea, I stay in. I realign, I reaffirm, I remind myself of my work, I come back to center, I come back to self, I come back to my work, I stay in that circle with the intention of closing it off. But what actually happens is the circle doesn't close. It gets so microscopically close to the edge of the circle, like you can touch it. A gnat's hair is touching the close of that circle, but it doesn't quite close. What it does, it bleeds down into the next circle. So if we're on our white belts, we learn the moves of the white belt, we learn that composition, we get to the end of learning all of the things in white belt, which is a lot to ask actually as you're thinking about it, like all the moves for the entire belt. But you get to the end of that white belt, and then yellow belt is just a gnat's far away from white belt, and you just brush it, and then you're into the yellow belt circle, and it's just underneath. It's just underneath the white one, and it stacks on top. And then it gets hot and you can't understand the move and you can't get it on, but you keep going until you close it off, and all of a sudden you know all the yellow belt syllabus. So then you're onto orange. I don't know what your work is right now because I don't. Hopefully the belts are helpful, but you know what it is that you need to be doing and where you fall off the operation and where you're being called to come back on, and not just to complete that circle, because that's what the brain, when we lead with the brain, when we lead with the what to do, when we lead with the masculine, it just wants all of the circles closed off. So we give it what it wants. We focus hard and we come to the end of it, nearly. And it says, I don't want to do this again. I just want to be a black belt. I don't want to arse around, going around and around and around and around. It's impossible to be a black belt without making it through. All the other colours are just supplementing you being a black belt. So if we use that as the threshold of your work, the awakening, the realization of what it is that you're here to do, how you're here to do it. And I promise you, when you can think what it is that you're here to do, when you can articulate it with words and say, this is what I'm here to do, and when every action that you put towards your work is towards those two things, you are God. Because we're all all one with God, but you are, what you think and what is created are one. It just is. It just happens when you're in that space. But the only way you get to that space is by doing the reps, by moving through all the belts until everything is just in alignment. The difficulty that we have is that we have a human brain that on the first circle at the very top of the spiral, and so can you see the circles are coming down and down and down. They're like going through the earth's core. They're going through your core. They're going deep. They're not these superficial circles at the top. They're going deep and down into it. So as you move down and down and round and round and you go down, it's only by moving through that you get to the essence of it all, and then the 3D happens and the brain saying, but I want that from the get-go. It actually doesn't. And you have to show it that that isn't true, even though you think it's true, even though you believe it's true, even though there's nobody cheerleading, unless you're in my world, and I am literally like reminding you of this 24/7. Your brain is going to want something very different to what is actually in your highest and greatest good. Your brain just wants you in survival mode and alive. That is not in your highest and greatest good. That is not a brew and a bath and a biscuit and a clean and tidy house. That is just, I'm alive. Let me function through the day. Let me get to bed. We have to hold this. The brain is just going to want one closed circle. And if that doesn't bring the black belt, he wants to be out. And that depth of you, that remembering says, this circle is going to bring a new depth of knowing to you, to your work, and to what you're here to do. And the more reps and more circles, the more belts and the colors you move through, the clearer it all gets to be. Everything else falls away. And then you're in that oneness, that godlike state of, I know what I'm here to do. Everything that I speak and teach and touch is surrounded by it. So it is inevitable that the 3D results that are unimaginable, that are not logical, happen. It's, of course, my days were like a bath, a brew, and a biscuit in the bath. How lovely is that? Ooh, with bubbles. and I'm creating and generating in the 3D as well. Of course it feels like that because you have done the mastery moving through the spirals, and it just comes through you by this point. We all want that point because it is really cool. It doesn't mean that life doesn't happen. You're still going to be a human. People you love are still going to die. Challenging things are going to happen inside your work, outside of your work, all of the things. But you're able to hold them because you are at this depth that most people don't ever reach. So if you're playing with your work right now, and I hope to goodness you are playing, you remember, and you've been able to remember what it feels like to play and enjoy and have fun, because I forgot. I don't know if I ever knew that. My mom used to talk about how I talk about the naughty boys going up the slide, and I was appalled right from the get-go. I don't know if that part of me was ever alive, but I know I've remembered it now, and I know that the main objective in my work is to have fun and enjoy it and make it alive, and that makes circling and going around those relentless circles enjoyable, because it's the most inevitable part of the process. The only more inevitable thing is that you are tapping out, and I am tapping out of this existence at some point, and it's going to be sooner than we can ever imagine. So when we can have fun and move through the spiral and our existential spirals along the way and go deeper and deeper into ourselves and deeper into our work, we get to have a bloody good time. It all gets to unfold. It gets to feel really nice. It is just the most glorious process. So if you are circling something magical and you can feel yourself feeling frustrated, I hope that this analogy and this representation of it is incredibly helpful for you. It is what we do in Find the Thing and Make It Real. It is what we do in all of the containers in my work, but just different elements of it, because every element within the work is a circle that you get to come through and move down without your brain taking over, being like, well, this isn't it. It's like, no, your brain will relentlessly say that. No, it will never be happy. I hope that's helpful. I've got some really nice visuals as well if you like them. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here today with me. Please let me know how you've enjoyed this. I would love any feedback. I'm sending you all the love.
All right, love bug, that's us for today. If your brain is sparkling and your soul's going, holy shizballs, this is it, first of all saying. And second, please know this, you're not circling for no reason. Your work is very freaking real, and it's not going anywhere. It's here because you're here for more. If this landed in all the god-awful, brilliant ways that it was meant to, come and tell me over on Instagram. These are my favourite places and best kind of conversations. And if you've got a friend whose brain is as wonderfully wild as yours and mine, send this their way. We need their magic in the world just as much as the world needs ours. So that's it for today. Go take the teeniest step towards the real thing, your thing. And remember, clarity around your map and magic is never found. It's remembered. This has been me and you together making the real thing. I cannot wait to talk soon. Much love.